All right, part 3. These are my confessions. Transfigured gems just dropped. I got I got away from the shower. My hair is still wet. They just dropped. So I'm excited to go through them. Some interesting stuff. This is probably the more curious interactions and changes of the 3 batches we've had so far, in my opinion. But perhaps you differ on that. Anyway, let's see. Purifying Flame of Revelations. It's very similar to the way it works already with Purifying Flame. I was hoping to maybe get like a debuff Transfigured gem back, but no, it seems to be focused around the secondary effect of Purifying Flame, like that Consecrated Ground Shockwave. It does up to 110% more damage as opposed to 25% less on the base. But, of course, the problem with this is you have to hit the enemy with the secondary effect. So you kind of have to like finicky with self casting because auto targeting will aim the primary skill on the enemy, meaning you won't benefit from the 110 more damage because they can't take that damage if they have already been hit by the actual primary hit from the skill. It says so, right? Like damaging enemies standing on consecrated ground that were not already hit. So I guess you can maybe create like this giant field of consecrated ground and maybe deal with that. Um, Perhaps that will work, but it's definitely going to be more finicky, but it's going to have a lot more damage ceiling if you do it right. So, skill based Purifying Flame, let's go. Pyroclast Mine of Sabotage. The Sabotage archetype seems to be very much more about ramping up to higher heights, but at the cost of having lower starting points or lower entry points. Lower base damage on that fire, as I can see, but a much higher ramp with each mine adding up to a much greater limit, which is very, very good. The 4 projectiles, I believe, is 2+2 from the quality. So maybe you can even get some like ashes involved if you want to get very frisky. Aside from that, it seems pretty similar, except for the reservation being quite spicy at 24. Pyroclast at a base is 6. So you're going to need to kind of mess around with that to compensate for the massive increase in mana cost or mana reservation cost, even. So, yeah, as you can see, it caps out at 1249, 1873, where at the base it's 601, 901. So, it is a massive increase in the ceiling, but also if you look at the original base damage, 240, 361, the pyroclast here is 6294. So, yeah, you got to ramp up. And you lose a little bit on that added damage, I believe. It doesn't say if it has added damage here on the Sabotage, but the base one has 80% effective added damage. So, I don't know. Maybe scaling can over push one to the other, but otherwise it seems like a gem swap to me. One for bosses, one for clearing. Rage Vortex of Berserking. This seems like just regular Rage Vortex at max radius, but with a degenerate effect that we see with similar to Berserking. But no real benefit from it, from what I can tell. No, it just seems like it starts at 2.4. The attack damage and effectiveness of added damage are the same. The cost is the same, 46 life, 70% of base. If we take a look here, yeah, 70% base, 62 base, 62 effective, 46 life. Base duration is 3 seconds, 250 frequency. Yeah, you do lose out on the bonus damage with the new gem, and you get a degenerative effect, but you get a massive easier time with the Rage Storm at max radius. So, I don't know. We'll see. The fact that this also does not have a base duration added to it means that the only thing that's limiting you is the actual rage. So the more rage you have, the longer it will last. And it will have a massive AoE. So it's probably going to be just like this clear skill where Rage Vortex here, due to the more damage scaling aspect, might be better for bosses. Maybe. I don't know. Depends on how you deal with your rage, I suppose. Interesting decision that they made here. I do not know too much about specters, but it seems like transients, let's see, temporary means to fight for you in a battle for a duration. Raise a spectral version. Yeah, expect to have a base duration of 30 seconds. Maximum of 5 raised specter. So as they are no longer permanent minions, then that's an interesting way of dealing with that. Minions do get massive buffs to elemental resistance, movement speed, 1,000% increased critical strike chance. Yeah, Ray Spectre's level 70 at level 20 gem, and minions have an additional accuracy rating of 776. That is an interesting decision because Ray Spectre at a base level, as we can see here, does get the same accuracy, get the same elemental resistance and movement speed and such, but no crit. So you have no longer a permanent playstyle at the result of massive crit increase. Could be interesting if you want to have a more active playstyle for more damage with Spectres. Race Zombie of Slamming. Okay, so this is just zombies, but as opposed to doing more melee attacks, they just get massive slam cooldown reduction and massive increase in area of effect. So come on and slam. Welcome to the jam. Raise Zombie of Falling. Some interesting elements here. Apparently the falling attack is 2 times a regular zombie melee attack from what I've seen. I think it was a Zizarin video. 15% chance to deal double damage. That's exciting for hit-based shenanigans, or even for ailment-based shenanigans, I suppose. And then, of course, minion hits can't be evaded, so you don't have to worry about any hit chance or shenanigans. Zombies fall, they also immediately die, so any kind of death effects from minions could be really good. Animated Guardian, constantly being healed, possibly, with that, I think it's a mastery on the tree. I'm not really a minion guy. I've played SRS once, which was broken, but I didn't like it. Scorching Ray of Immolation. Unleash a fiery beam that burns enemies it touches. Remaining in the beam raises the burning, adding a portion of the beam's damage in stages. Enemies who leave in the beam continue to burn for a duration, or who leave the beam continue to burn for a duration. Increasing cast speed also increases the rate at which the beam turns. So typical Scorching Ray stuff. Let's see, we have some base damage per second. Base duration is 3 seconds. Typical spell damage applied to the damage over time. Burning debuff can have a maximum of 8 stages. Additional debuff stages add 14% of damage. All right. Scorching Ray possibly back for our RF bodies. Because let's see. Debuff can have a maximum of 8. But additional debuff stages add 60% of damage. Fire exposure applies minus 25. But 780.7. Where here it is 1893.9. So the stages are the same. Additional debuff stages add a 14% of damage. So much better base damage, less scaling by the looks of it. That's interesting. Also lose the fire exposure aspect, presumably, but it also lasts longer. So this might be better for like scaling in the long run due to the increased damage, if I understand it correctly. And then this might be better for just slamming and going. So this might be the clear version versus the single target DPS version. Is that what I'm seeing? I've never been an RF boy. I've played RF once when I started a very long time ago, and I quit the game for several leagues because I couldn't stand it. So somebody who plays RF with from the back in the Scorching Ray days, because it was always Fire Trap now, right? So maybe this is good, maybe this is bad, although RF is sweating for other reasons at the moment. Shattering Steel of Ammunition. Let's see, base duration 6, 123.88, 185 flat, fires 3 projectiles, 8% block. Steel shards 2, up to a maximum of 6. Okay, that's pretty good. That's up to 3 total wards. Yeah, if you lays 2 steel shards up to a maximum of 6. Okay. If you have no steel shards, only fires 1 projectile. 40% increase in pale effect. Projectiles deal up to 110% more damage with hits per steel shard consumed at the start of their movement. Lowering this bonus as they travel further. Consumes up to 2 steel shards. Okay. That makes sense. Oh, wait. Gain a steel ward if you have at least 2 steel shards up to a maximum of 6. You can have up to 6 steel wards. That's how that works. Okay. Yeah, it looks basic for a steel skill. Steel skills are kind of like running out of fashion unless they can like really benefit from like returning projectiles and such. But yeah, fair enough. Shattering Steel is possibly breathing in a new, fresh air for some different numbers. Could be interesting. Shield Crush of the Chieftain. Swipe your shield, dealing area damage in their 3 waves in front of you. Enemies can be hit by 2 of the waves where they overlap. Looks like the middle is indeed a bit bigger. Chieftain. Looks like it has fire damage added to it. I guess that's what the Chieftain means. 7 to 9 added fire damage per 15 armor on shields. Interesting. Attack time is 1 second, though. Hold on. Shield Crush. Yeah, attack time 0.8. So it's slower. And it adds, as opposed to physical damage, it adds fire damage with a base of 172 to 58. Here it's 7 base damage, offhand fire damage, 222, 334, with the same kind of damage scaling, 5-7. This is 7 to 9, so it's slightly better, with 10% more damage with hits to closer targets, and of course the central wave has a bunch of benefit to it as well. So yeah, okay, so it has more damage potential for a fire-based Shield Crush. Central Wave also has more area of effect, which is quite lovely, meaning that overlapping is going to be quite good. Can hit by 2 of the waves if they overlap. Yeah. So it's going to be a slightly slower Shield Crush, but it's going to hit harder, and it's fire-based. Okay, cool. Siege Ballista of Splintering. Projectiles can fork an additional time, seems to be the case. Attacks with forking arrows. So this is clearly, the Siege Ballista is going to be a AoE version. Projectiles can fork 1 additional time. Summons a Ballista Totem, which uses the skill. Projectiles have a 40% chance for an additional projectile when forking. Okay, with +3 to maximum summoned totems. So this clearly seems to be, arrows pierce 9 additional targets, 3 totem lasts 8 seconds. Okay, so this is like a forking as opposed to a piercing version, which seems fair. Projectiles can fork 1 additional time. Yeah, so it's gonna probably be slightly better on the clear, I guess, because I think forking clears slightly better than piercing does, depending on the situation. 51, 30, 130. Yeah, so it has less damage as well. This is 145. Attack speed 50%. This is attack speed, 50. Arrow spears +3. Yeah, so this is going to be, I guess, kind of the AoE clear version, where the piercing is more the single target version. But considering how many totems you can put down, I don't think it's really going to matter. 145 beats it in all the situations where it probably would matter if you want to play Siege Ballista. So, who knows? Smite of Divine Judgment. Perform a melee attack and causes lightning to strike nearby enemies. This used to be my favorite melee skill. Dealing damage in an area, each target can only be hit once, but this skill requires, 50% conversion still, but you get more area damage, 2.1 meters base radius, and lightning strikes 3 targets within 7 meters. So that's a build-in Ancestral Coal at the cost of not having the buff, by the looks of it. Base duration 4 seconds, conversion 0.6 meter to radius, less area damage. Lightning strikes 1 target, but you get base damage added to it, less area damage. Okay. Aura grants 90% chance to shock. 85, 273, 273. This is 250, 250, 85. Okay. So the smite here is going to be still very good because of the added bonus damage for the aura. So you still want to run that anyway for single target. But this is pretty good because it has built-in Ancestral Call. So you could drop that gem altogether for a better support, which is going to be quite lovely. Or you don't even have to take the glove implicit with the Eldritch Crafting anymore, So for clearing, this is definitely going to be pretty good. But if you want to do like single target damage, you're probably going to still have to run the regular smite. But yeah, it's one of those, do you want to gem swap? Maybe. Unfortunately, due to the way that smite works, I think most people are going to run with a aura, or not an aura, like an aura stacker or an armor stacker, or an aura armor stacker, to really get some good damage out of that. So, and honestly, I never felt like you needed to clear because you already had the ancestral call at that point. If you want to get the clear, or even just the helmet, not the helmet, the glove implicit, and the trees, of course, giving you additional strike and splash as well. Not to forget that. So I don't feel like you need more than that. But the fact that you get more area damage. Oh, actually, no, this also benefits the regular, because I was thinking about the warlock where you can summon the additional minions. Because I believe the AoE can overlap and hit the same target. But yeah, if you have Ancestral Call, lightning strikes 3 targets within 7 meters. Maybe the AoE damage should be able to shotgun. So if you have the Warlock skill that summons the minions, I think it's like the Mark something. Is the Mark? I don't know. You can maybe do something crazy with this. Absolutely. Soul Rend of Reaping. This is interesting. Bunch of base damage, projectile speed, and of course leech. But you lose the damage over time effect. Soul Rend, I guess they saw that video from that one from Captain Lance or something, who was playing Soul Rend with Spellblade and killing everything because he had so much base damage added to it. But as you can see here, it's a bunch of flat damage with a high level of chaos damage over time. And then besides that's pretty similar. This is just a higher flat damage. So you can skill the hit component of Soul Rend if you enjoy that, and actually get more projectile speed as well. So it's faster on the projectile speed and it feels better. That could be really cool. Yeah, if you want to do like a crit version, or just want to do some kind of hit version, which gives you all kinds of other things to maybe skill, including crit, most importantly crit, this could be really exciting, Soul Rend. But if you want even more exciting stuff, Soul Rend of the Spiral, which is insane. Fires a series of projectiles in a spiral that turns towards enemies in front of them, damaging and piercing through those they hit. So it's a spiral that fires 5 projectiles in a spiral that then turn towards the enemy. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to look because there's too many things rotating, no pun intended. But aside from that, the numbers look okay. 5 projectiles in a spiral, which is a lot more than here. Here it is 2.6 damage over time with 8 to 1300. So looks like the damage component, the hit component is pretty similar. 2.6 here, 42. So that's pretty much the same. Added damage 170, cast time 80. So it's slower on the cast time. Effectiveness of added damage is the same. Crit's the same. Here the crits, actually on the hit version, the crit's also much, much better. 7%. That's not bad. Most spells are like 6, right? And effectiveness of added damage 400. Oh, damn. I kind of want to play a hit version of Soul Rend now. Build in Spell Leech? Kind of want to do that now. Maybe some Chaos Inoculation, like super stack a Chaos Inoculated, maybe Trickster, or is that a thing? Can we do that? Maybe do Trickster, get like a massive spell leech on a massive energy shield, be Chaos Inoculated. That could be exciting. What do you guys think? Maybe I'm just dreaming. The spiral stuff looks really interesting, but it does have that damage over time component. And chaos damage over time is kind of awkwardly supported, right? Like, because it doesn't work with any kind of poison multipliers. It specifically is damage over time, increased damage, or damage multipliers, or damage over time multipliers. It's very similar to like how Corrupting Fever is not affected by any kind of like bleed modifiers, but is affected by physical damage over time modifiers, which is also what bleed is. we'll see how this turns out, but there is a reason not a lot of people were running Soul Rent comfortably. But the fact that you fire 5 projectiles in a spiral, I don't know. Maybe the quality of life could be worth it. Clear and then, or like a hit-based Soul Rent. If somebody has a plan for a hit-based Soul Rent, let me know. Spark of the Nova fires projectile in a circle. So that's very lovely. Base duration 2, bunch of flat damage. Spark is pretty dead, right? Like the lack of like all kinds of projectile speed is a little. On the bright side, though, it does have additional added damage. The spell crit is the same. The cast time is a little slower. Regrettably, man's a little higher, but you do end up getting additional projectiles to compensate for the circle. And it's slightly higher flat on both the minimal and the maximum. So it's not bad. It's a little slower, but the lack of projectile speed, and it's quite difficult to get as well without the tattoos and such, makes Spark a little awkward. So we'll see. But yeah, this is clearly the clear Spark, and then maybe Spark of Unpredictability. Launches unpredictable sparks with that move randomly with large differences in speed and distance until they hit an enemy or expire. Fires 8 projectiles, but different distances and different speeds. 160 added, 60, so same speed, little less damage, same crit. Does come with an extra projectile, but that might be related to the quality. I just noticed. 1705, less damage as well. So I'm not sure. So I guess here you might get rolls that have much more speed. I don't know. If you want to run Spark, unless this changes, I would run the regular Spark for bossing and then the other Spark for clearing. Is that kind of a plan? I don't know. Not a Spark boy. Spectral Shield Throw of Shattering, very similar to the Chieftain Shield Crush, but I believe this is added cold damage for evasion. So very much a Raider-esque attempt at maybe even champion effect of trying to make things work by the looks of it. Spectral Shield has always been such a Spectral Shield has always been a bit of an interesting thing, right? I remember in the Crucible League, it was absolutely busted. And a lot of people played it as well on like some trickster stuff. I did faintly consider it, but we have some base damage right here. So it's higher cold damage on the base by the looks of it. 65 attack time. This is 75 attack time. So it has more base damage. It has better shield scaling for evasion and cold. Additional projectiles 3, primary projectiles chain 3 times. 12 projectiles, more projectile speed. Okay. So it's the way you're going to use it is going to be a little different, but other than that, it seems to have more damage potential, depending on how things shotgun with the marks and such. And there's some tech there that I didn't quite could wrap my head around. So this could be massive, though, especially if you can go with cold to get some shatters going. Yeah, possibly really good. Split Arrow of Splitting. Huh. Doubling down, I see. Splits towards 8 targets. Projectiles can split without hitting a target. Oh, that's cool. Modifiers to numbers of projectiles and to apply to numbers of projectiles split. Okay, so this is very similar to what we saw in part 2 on the Ice Spear. This is like a doubling down on that clearing. Okay. Fair enough. Could be cool. Splitting Steel of Ammunition. There's a lot of shenanigans here. I don't think anybody really uses Splitting Steel these days, unless they want to do some weird interaction with returning projectiles. Projectiles split towards 5 targets. That's the base one. Projectiles can split without hitting a target. Okay. 101, 105, 210, 210. So it looks like everything is the same in terms of added damage, base damage. Added attack damage is the same. But yeah, it's going to split more, unless that's quality related. 60% chance to impale enemies on hit. Impale effect. Projectiles can split. Consumes up to 2 steel charges. Steel shards. Okay. Number of targets projectiles split towards modifiers. Yeah. So it's just a lot of splitting for the radius 47% instant. Okay, yeah. So it seems to have more impale enemies on hit. 60% here. This is 40%. So that could also be quality related. Let me actually check. Splitting steel. Provides now increased impale effect. Okay, so that's what that is. Fair enough. So much more impale effect for the quality now on both ends, but 60% chance to impale enemies on hit. That seems to be built in then, as opposed to the 40% here. And then more splitting. I don't know if I like that. Could be good. Could be good. I'm not really a steel kind of fan, though. Summon Chaos Golem of the Maelstrom. Cast a powerful power damage over time aura that withers enemies in addition to its melee attack. So that's interesting. The Chaos Golem here is now actually applying Wither. Interesting. Maybe that's another way to use the golems then. Because, yeah, like the golem at the base level gives physical damage. Physical damage reduction. Can use damage over time. Chaos Aura. Yeah. Interesting. So there's a bunch of benefits here on the Chaos Golem, but this one gives Wither. Still has the Chaos over damage over time aura that benefits you with a little bit of damage, but no physical damage reduction. But is that getting some Wither? All right, let's see. Increased cooldown recovery rate, dealing fire damage in an area, leaving burning ground around impact after landing. It can cast a fire spray and a wave of fire damage. All right, so this is just go hard because it's just nuking meteors. Could be good for like the Golemancers if they still exist. Summon Ice Golem of Hordes. Maximum 3 summoned golems. Oh, okay. Ice Golem can use Ice Barrage Spell Chilling. Oh, this is just... So of Hordes means that you can summon multiple golems of this type without actually increasing your maximum golem elsewhere. That's exciting. All right, I can see the minion builds. Just a bunch of ice golems running around. Guess that's just kind of cool. Right, summon Raging Spirit of Enormity. Maximum 6 summoned Raging Spirits. So this is go big or go home. They have more maximum life. They always critical strike. Interesting. They have 40% crit multi, and they cannot taunt enemies. Is always critting and 40% crit multi. Is that going to be worth losing a tremendous amount of max spirits? Because I know a lot of people are going to go with that Guardian SRS, getting the triple aura, getting that triple aura. But yeah, at a base level, if you get, especially if you get Unleash and such, you can summon up to 20, which is quite a bit. And this caps out at 6. So you get 14 less damage, 14 less potential hits that you're doing on a single target. But they are tankier, and they always crit, and they get 4 crit multi. Is that really worth it? Maybe. The scaling potential is much, much greater because you don't have to worry about any crit chance. So you can just dump fully into crit multi every single step of the way, if that's a possibility. Not sure how minions work with that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Could be interesting. It certainly will makes it so you don't have to actually use Unleash either, which is nice. So that guarantees you an easier time getting a better support to max out your minions. Quality of life? Perhaps. Summon Reapers of Revenants. Reapers cause your next Reaper minions to deal less damage. A basic Reaper mechanic. Variety of slashing area attacks. The presence of any Reaper weakens your other non-Reaper minions. The Reaper will consume them to temporarily empower and heal themselves. Maximum 3 summoned Reapers. All right, so let's take a look at this Reaper tech. Summon Reaper. So this is clearly one maximum summon Reaper versus 3 maximum summoned Reapers. So you can actually have multiple Reapers out. 40% increased movement speed, as opposed to minion maximum life. They don't have the ability to do bleeding by the looks of it, unlike the original one. They're also slightly squishier, but they're faster. Okay. And they have less damage if they're non-Reaper, which is the same tech. Okay. But admittedly, they also do less damage. But if they're all attacking the same target for a hit-based Reaper build, that should still mean more damage. But if you want to bleed, you still have to go with the regular Reaper. Summon Reaper of Eviscerating, which is back to 1 maximum. 70% chance to inflict bleeding. 87 more with bleeding. Causes non-Reaper 29. So it's 70, 87. Is that the same? 87. Interesting. So it doesn't have the bonus itself, but it looks of it. But it has a higher chance to inflict bleeding. Okay. Yeah, so it has a better chance to inflict bleeding, but everything else still pretty much seems the same. It's a little bit more expensive to summon it. 35 cost, cast time 1 second. This one is easier to cast, 0.6. Cheaper on the mana as well. Yeah. Not sure if that's fundamentally going to change much, but it is a possibility. Using the skill while the Reaper is already summoned, it causes the dash to the target location, perform a powerful attack, cannot be triggered. Yeah. So yeah, basic minion stuff. Summon skeletons of archers. So now you can just summon a bunch of archers without having to worry about having to do specific minion stuff like with the mage. There you go. So you still summon regular skeletons, but even though I think there was like a jewel that you had to use to be able to summon mages, now you can just use a Transfigured gem, which might be easier to obtain depending on how lab is going to interact in the early stages. Or if you have to go all the way to the final lab, or the triple lab, third lab, I don't know. Might be problematic otherwise. But yes, you can decide if you want skeletons, you can decide if you want regular mages, or if you just want to go skellies all day, every day. Let's see if there's any difference here. 7 max, summon 3. This is maximum 8, summon 3 skeleton archers. And this is maximum 8 summon skeletons, summon 3 skeleton mages. So you can, I guess you can like use multiple summons if you want to with different gems, but I don't think that would be wise. You can just summon those skeletons that you want up to a maximum of 8, which I imagine has to do with the quality. I think it's still base 7, quality gives you 8. 20 seconds, 20 seconds. Yeah, that's kind of cool. You now can just choose which ones you want, which is very lovely. I imagine most folk will go with mages because that's what the previous League starters had. We're almost done. Sunder of Earthbreaking. I feel like this is just Sunder, but with more waves and more wave clear. Slams the ground, creating a wave of churning terrain that damages enemies in the sequence of areas in front of you. A number of enemies hit by the wave will release shockwave, damaging other enemies around them. Yeah, so and there's more waves that the enemies can stand into, therefore causes additional shockwaves. Because it goes from 3 damaging waves, or wave damages up to 3 areas to 8. If I correctly remember. No, wave damages 5 areas. Wave cannot stop before damaging 2 areas. So, in this case, there's no limitation on that, but it can go all the way up to 8. So, yeah, that's very fair. It is unfortunate that you can only have up to 1 Sunder, I believe. But yeah, it just seems like it doubles down on that clear, but at the cost of reduced damage scaling. And but it's faster, so it's better for clear, but less good for bossing. I guess is kind of the idea here, based on the added damage and the attack damage. So if you want to gem swap, you can. We have Void Sphere of Rending. So we know Void Sphere, it's a big suck. Used very much in Toda. I am not sure what the rending aspect implies here. Let's take a look here real quickly. Void Sphere, pulse. We have 516, pulse 4, 0.4, 40% for the coverage. Okay. Here we have the same conversion, same pulse, but much more damage. Enemies in range are hindered with up to 30 movement speed. Yeah, but that's the same thing with the regular Void Sphere. So it looks like it's just more base damage. Cast time 0.6, 575. Cast time is a little higher, but it does more damage at a base level and seemingly also has more added damage. So I guess if you want to use Void Sphere as a more of a damaging skill, you can do that now if you so desired. Base duration 5. Yep. That hasn't changed. Oh no, it has changed. Sorry. It does more damage and has better scaling, but the base duration is less long, significantly less longer. So yes, this is the damage version of Void Sphere in the same way that you had a debuff version of Ice Bomb, but now became a damaging version, came out as well. Although admittedly, this is a 10-second cooldown, this does not. So that's pretty good. It still has corpse removal, which is very good for all those porcupines and detonation bastards. But you can still only have one Void Sphere at any given time. So, but it still has the debuff for movement speed as well. So that's pretty clutch. Yeah. So this is the damage version of Void Sphere if you want to mess around with that. Could be good, especially if you just want to use it for like the reduced movement speed and the corpse clear. It might still be better as well, because if you don't care about the damage and the duration, you can just recast it. Maybe use a trigger. Ooh, that could be good. Maybe on the Forbidden Rite. That way, I don't have to worry about corpse clear. Because one of the things that always murders me, believe it or not, is corpse explosions around boxes. Ooh, it could be good. Have to keep an eye on that. That could be lovely. Volcanic Fissure of Snaking. Slam the ground, creating a winding fissure that deals area damage while traveling outwards. When it reaches the target location, it erupts, dealing damage in an area. After erupting, the fissure continues moving towards enemies, causing further eruptions, etc. 50% more area of effect. Fissure erupts 3 additional times with a bunch of convert. And that's Volcanic Fissure. Take a peek. Yeah, that's 4 additional projectiles, which is different than Fissure erupts 3 additional times. So just a different way of doing it. 185, 185. Same damage. Attack speed is a little slower, but that's to be expected. And then last, almost last but not least, we have Vortex of Projection. So if you like Vortex, but you don't like Ice Nova, but you want to use the Frostbolt interaction that Ice Nova has, but you don't like Ice Nova, but you do like Vortex, there you go. This is Ice Nova made Vortex. It's literally what it is. As you can see at the bottom there, when cast on Frostbolt, that's exactly what it is. Curious way of doing it. I'm not sure if that's really going to blow the world into a new era of Cold Dot, but we'll see. And then Wild Strike of Extremes, which is an interesting one. Look at the cost. 28 mana, 28 life, 28 energy shield. I have no idea how one would deal with that. Maybe if you go EB and then pray, I guess. That's one way to do it. Let's see. Projectile spears all targets. Beam chain 7 times. Fire 3 projectiles. Yep, that's Wild Strike for you. It still has the elemental choosing aspect to it. We got the ailment choice, increased area of effect, 100% conversion. Hits treat enemy monsters' elemental resistance values as inverted. That is not base, right? Nope, it's not. Look at that. 7 times. Yo, that's really good. If you can find a way to deal with the cost, you don't have to scale any kind of resistance penetration because it's invert. In fact, you can roll your maps to do more damage because if you get the element, if you give the monsters more elemental resistance, this makes that inverted more damage for free. Well, for free. That's incredible. It's going to be a tricky one to solve, though. Maybe some trickster play, EB, maybe. Some on hit healing. Who knows? Cool. Looking forward to see what kind of craziness is going to happen with that. Anyway, let me know what you liked about this. I'm really looking forward to that Soul Rend tech. See what people are going to do with that. And maybe some Smite. Smite has been my favorite melee skill for a while, so I really hope that we are going to maybe get an era where Wild Cycle Smite is going to be really good again without having to need for like these weird aura stackers or armor stackers or aura armor stackers. The minions look insane as well, so the minion lovers are going to have a good old day. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm also thinking about Void Sphere. But that's for me. We'll figure it out. I'm going to look more into like league starters. I've got a couple in mind, but I still have to work them out. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night. Take care. And I'm out.